Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back welcoming you to the post-fight show with Stormybman for this Saturday, October 29th, 2022. This is the post-fight show for Taylor versus Carabajal, and we're going to talk about this kind of brief. It'll be a brief post-fight show because we got some more cards coming up shortly. We've got the Lomachenko and Ortiz card that'll be starting in about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And then a little bit later, we still have the Jojo Diaz, William Zepeda card that'll be taking place again on Dazn. So I just thought I would come in and give my thoughts on the post-fight show regarding Taylor and Carabajal. The fight just wrapped up. Katie Taylor finished this one up with a unanimous decision win, which had some interesting aspects about Katie Taylor and her prowess as a fighter here. We got a great chance to see something about Taylor that ran well within her career early on, shortly after the Olympics, as well as sprinkled throughout her history as a pro and veteran in the sport of 6 years. First and foremost, let me say salute to the ladies of boxing. There were a couple of more fights on the undercard. I might talk about those a little bit on the Sunday morning call-in, but let's just get down to this main event here. The woman that Katie faced tonight for her undisputed lightweight title, Karen Carabajal, was a fighter with a record of 19-0, 2 knockouts from Argentina. This woman has boxing ability and boxing skill. Her extremities gave her, going into the bout, some advantages if she were able to utilize them against Katie Taylor.
And Katie was able to take that away from her. I noticed something about Katie that she doesn't get enough credit for. And first and foremost, let me say salute to her for her victory. Katie Taylor has boxing IQ, people. She has ring smarts. Ring generalship is high for her. And I noticed it directly by round 7. She was able to put this fight on cruise control based primarily on frustrating Carabajal to the extent that the woman could not throw her punches with effectiveness. There were some things that Katie was able to do defensively. She used great upper body movement when she was within range. She was able to dip, bob, weave, and roll under and step on the outside and then get off shots. She punched to the body very well. She punched to the head. She threw her punches in combinations, but all the time at angles. Now, early on when the fight started, Katie kind of went toward her and was looking to jab her way in and things of that nature. But that was playing right into Karen's, it was playing into her game plan. She was able to utilize her jab, which was effective against Katie in the early rounds, but she wasn't able to do it enough to take control of the fight. Katie made the adjustment before the end of the first round, going into the second round, that she was going to kind of backtrack a little bit and make Karen come forward. Very smart, because that enabled her to give the angles and the movement that Katie would be able to utilize and be in a good place. I don't even believe that Karen nor her corner people realize this slight adjustment. And remember, I've always talked about a fighter making an adjustment to another fighter's adjustment puts them in a position to prevail. Well, Carabajal was not able to make adjustments after this particular movement by Katie Taylor, and it cost her the fight. I actually had Katie winning every single round, but that didn't mean that Carabajal wasn't in the fight. She was. It's just that she could not do enough to secure rounds in her favor, and she never did anything to take the momentum away from Taylor. When they got on the inside, Taylor was very rough on the inside. I've talked about in the past how the woman uses her head. She uses elbows. She'll punch you to the body. She'll punch you on the break. You're in a fight when you're in there with Katie Taylor. But she's a veteran fighter. She has been well schooled, and she has the tools to be successful in the ring. I like what I see from Taylor, who's now, what is she, 36 years old, going on 37, and Carabajal was 32. But Katie did not look the worse for wear. She did not look like an aging fighter at all. She was able to dart in and out and give angles and move side to side. There were moments when Carabajal would get in with her, and when they clinch, Katie knew how to work within the clinch. Carabajal was having difficulty with her adjusting because she had long arms. You see, it's at moments like this when you can tell the teaching, what a fighter receives from their coaches and trainers, and how they're able or not able to implement slight adjustments during a fight. That was something that I was able to pick up on straight away. And I give Taylor and her corner a great deal of credit for being very effective and taking this woman out of her comfort zone. because Carabajal, throughout her victories, she has been a fighter who has won bouts with unanimous decisions. And that basically means she can box, okay? At the end of the day, she can box, hands down. But that all was taken off the table for her by Katie Taylor and Katie's corner. Great stuff. And I want to see more. This is what I like when I see boxing, because I'm watching from a technical standpoint, not just cheering for someone or the other to win and be victorious, but to see fighters come across challenges, and how will they deal with the challenges. In this instance, Carabajal was very uncomfortable and never was able to get into a rhythm. Had Katie continued to fight the rest of the fight like she fought the first round, Carabajal would have eventually got into a rhythm and began to cause Katie some tremendous problems. But she was never able to establish distance in her favor. She was never able to follow up with shots after landing a solid jab or landing a right hand every once in a while. She wasn't able to do uppercuts. She wasn't able to get in any kind of rhythm that could have set some things toward her favor. Who we got out there? We got Curtis Price in the building and Dwayne Jones. Appreciate you guys. Thrill Hill is out there. He's asking, do you feel Carabajal could have been more effective? I thought she was decent. Yeah. What she should have done Sorry about that, people. I don't know what that was. That was YouTube. It wasn't me. But what I could tell was that Carabajal was having difficulty fighting from medium range. When you cannot judge distance in boxing, it's like being a bad driver on the road. You're going to rear end people, side swipe people, back into people because you can't gauge distances. In boxing, you have to know that. It's a lot like driving an automobile, being able to judge distances. And Katie became a master of that when she drew Carabajal into instances of throwing shots at her where she could bob, weave, dip under, and come out with a hook or a right hand and step off to the side, waiting for her to make another move so she can counter with something else. But this was not about singularly just countering. This was about putting Carabajal in a place of discomfort and allowing Katie to be comfortable and catch rhythm. Very smart boxing here. And those are the type of things that I talk about when I see boxing play out like this, and you can see people, meaning the fighters, show their wares. I watched some highlight footage coming into this week of Carabajal's matches, and she can box. And typically, women's boxing is on the come up. So there are some good fighters out there like Carabajal, but you can bet that Katie has fought better fighters than Carabajal has faced. And so Katie is more versed and adept at dealing with a variety of styles, pressure fighters that move away, fighters that like to fight on the inside, fighters that can fight from medium range, fighters who have power, fighters who are feather-fisted. It strikes me that Carabajal is the kind of fighter that most of her wins, she was the better fighter in the fight. Katie has had some fights where decisions were close. Even a couple of instances like against Delphine Persoon, when some people thought that Persoon may have beat her in that first fight. So that's where we see the differences here. And those are the kind of things you look for. This is why I often speak about, I don't care about how many knockouts somebody got. I don't care about them being undefeated. But what about the challenges? Like Kiko Martinez taking out Gil this evening. Man, he took him apart. And we will talk about that fight. We got to talk about Kiko Martinez, because that man at 37 years old is once again in a position to fight for an IBF title now. That was an eliminator that he won this evening against Gill, and he scored a knockout in 4 rounds, just like he beat Kid Galahad. This man, I'm telling you, people are sleeping on these veteran fighters because they have losses on their records. This is also more meaningful why they should have title shots, because they are grizzled veterans who have been in there. You're trying to protect these young guys and keep them winning against soft opposition, but when they face trial, they don't know what to do. After 2 rounds, I'm looking at Gill and his face was all busted up. I'm like, somebody's hitting him and the ref haven't thrown a punch yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, salute to Kiko Martinez. He's a little man. I think he's fighting out of France, but he's a Latin man, but he has a lot of spunk in him. If you beat him, you beat him. But never is he going to come in not prepared to compete. And once again, Eddie Hearn was wrong picking him to get in there, and Jordan Gill was not ready. It kind of reminded me of Caleb Plant getting in there with Canelo Alvarez, except for Canelo didn't beat Plant up like Kiko beat up Gill. But Gill was trying to fight like Caleb Plant did against Canelo. And against a guy who really has something to prove, is really going. So now, that wasn't the case against Caleb Plant and Canelo. Canelo fought like he knew he was the man or whatever, but he didn't have to prove anything to Caleb. It was Caleb's first big step-up fight. Well, this was Gill's first big step-up fight, but he didn't recognize the levels that the fights are fought at, which is why he got smoked. Now, I will tell you, after he got dropped in that, what was that, the second or third round? He got dropped in the third round. I'm like, his people should keep an eye on him. Then he was taking some pounding in the fourth, and I had suggested, in my mind, I'm like, they need to throw the towel in. He's not ready for this level. And the sooner you throw the towel in and stop that fight without him taking too much more punishment, the more you will have to build on when you go back to, the less you will have to build on when you go back to the gym to start anew. But he got knocked down a couple more times and he was taking a real battering. And by the time they finally did stop the fight, his face looked like hamburger meat. And it was just the fourth round. But these guys didn't realize that their young man wasn't ready for that level. See, this is what I'm talking about. You could go, and it happens more in the UK than it happens in the US, but it still happens in the US as well. When you have fighters that are in there facing off against opponents that should not even be in the ring with them. Such was the case in the heavyweight battle where we saw Johnny Fisher taking on that guy, Dominique Musil. That guy, Dominique, he looked like they brought him out of a pub, serving drinks. As soon as he got hit with something by Johnny Fisher, he folded up like an accordion, man. And people are cheering Johnny and everything. Yeah. Well, if Johnny get in there and fight some quality opposition that's even on the level he's supposed to be at, he can be folded up like an accordion, because I've seen the mistakes that he makes in the ring already. But they keep putting these fights on and giving you the impression that you're watching really something. A young prospect who is on the go. Man, he's going to go all right as soon as somebody hit him on his chin. Such was the case with Jordan Gill tonight against Kiko Martinez. For those who thought his victory over Kid Galahad was luck, think again. Think again. And what was interesting was when they asked him in the post-fight, who would you like? Would you like Josh Warrington? And, you know, Josh Warrington is someone that he's been in there with, but he said Lee Wood. You know, give me another guy. Give me another young, fresh guy. You know why? Because the young, fresh guys make mistakes. Warrington is a little more of a veteran and a little more wily and knows that you can't play with Kiko. But some of these young upstarts, they'll get that feeling in their head that, oh, he's old. He an OG. I'll handle him. Some OGs don't get to be OGs by accident. They don't. Salute to 88 Sports Talk. I see you out there. He says, salute, family. Salute to you. And Shawa is out there with those channel emojis. What's good, Shawa? How you doing? So, yeah. Salute to Katie Taylor, who, again, I'm going to say this. She's the undisputed lightweight champion. We have Clarissa Shields, who's the undisputed middleweight champion for the second time. And these two ladies are at the top of the sport with what they're doing. They really are. And I don't say it from a point of view of wanting to see them clash or anything. I respectfully look at both of their merits and accomplishments from being quality amateurs and going into the pros and setting the bar and standard for women in women's boxing. They are two stellar fighters that are to be respected for their accomplishments, and they will probably go in the Hall of Fame together. You know what I'm saying? And that would be great for different reasons from different parts of the world. But those two women are really carrying the sport, and they are handling and carrying it well. Two different type of personalities, two different complexions. But I got love for both of them for what they've accomplished in the sport and how they go about representing each in their own way. So, you know, that's an endorsement from me about what they bring to the ring. And I hope that we can still enjoy both of them. Maybe Clarissa a little longer because Katie is the elder statesman there, or stateswoman. And, you know, for what they do. But, man, it's exciting when you see these women fighters do what they do and represent the sport like they do. And really, I mean, they are really taking it to task for the men. They are truly taking it to task for the men. The men can learn a lot from what's happening with the women in boxing of today. They're fighting the better caliber of opponents. The champions are facing off against each other and becoming representation of true class by becoming undisputed and so forth. You're really seeing the best of what boxing has to offer with these ladies. But I'm going to get on out of here for now. I wanted to just come on and talk about the Taylor Carabajal card. We'll talk more about the undercard and some things that I acknowledge, even like Kiko and his victory and what may be next for him. Maybe on the call-in show tomorrow. And then later tonight, we still got Jojo Diaz taking on William Zepeda. So for you all who don't know this, tonight we still got Lomachenko Ortiz card, which is just coming on ESPN right now, ESPN Plus. So tune in and check that out. And I'll be back later with the second post-fight show after these other cards have commenced. Peace to you all. Much love to everybody. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we gone.